To the Road Show this morning in the Buzz, parents in Arizona are up in arms.
Is that what that looks like? Yeah.
That's what that looks like.
I always wonder what that means. Like, what does that look like?
After several schools decide to take action against obesity. Now, here's what happened. The schools are sending letters home to parents whose children are considered too heavy. One mother says her 11-year-old daughter's body mass index was taken during gym class. It lists the girl's height, her weight, and says that she's obese. Now, she says the letter caused more harm than good.
Didn't mail it home. They didn't even bother putting it in an envelope. They handed it to her, stapled, with a cover letter, so her and all her friends could see. She was just humiliated and dejected when she came home.
Now, the mother admits her daughter is overweight, but she says it's due to a medical problem that's being treated by a doctor and says he knows how to care for her child. The school admits no wrongdoing. So the question is, first of all, you know, a lot of people take issue over the issue of health, of sexual health, that sort of thing, and saying, you know, this is really a teachable moment at home, not so much for the schools to step in. If you do think the school should step in, do you think this is the right way for them to have done it?
Well, I think we're probably all going to agree on this one, because this whole thing we've had recently about bullying going on at schools and kids, you know, becoming targets for bullies. This stuff spreads like wildfire at schools with kids, you know, even at a young age. Hey, you know, teacher said you're fat, da, 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 you know, and then it escalates on and on it goes. Have some common sense, please. If you're going to do these sort of things, that's fine. If your phys ed teacher's all about physical fitness and it's part of the testing, that's great. But tell the parents.
Well, and how about mail it behind
the
screen, mail it home, make sure that no one can see it, no one can hear it. You're not handing it out in front of their friends.
It really is gym class the place for it, or maybe these kids get a physical by their nurse. Now, the only argument I would have for it is that some of these kids maybe don't get an annual physical at their doctor's office, so the schools may be the only place where they're learning nutrition and what their body health is. But you've got to make it private. I mean, there are rules that doctors' offices follow that schools should have to follow as well. I don't know if they do.
Like that,
exactly.
And not only that, but you know, if you're going to send out a letter, you send out a letter to everyone so that no one feels like, oh, you got that, you got the fat letter. You know what I mean? And I do understand the reason that schools are doing this. I mean, certainly there are children who, especially at 11 years old, before you hit that, you know, you're in that prepubescent age where you may have a little extra padding to support the growth spurt that's coming. But then there are also parents who, you know, really have kind of dropped the ball when it comes to, you know, sometimes their own nutrition, and it kind of spills over. We live in a very busy world. There's so much to be done that you're, you know, driving through a drive-through, you're not doing proper nutrition, and children aren't getting, you know, adequate nutrition. So there are times where people have stepped in, and there's been times where we've even seen in law enforcement where you see, you know, a 4-year-old who is so morbidly obese that the social services threatens to take that child away in what is otherwise a loving home.
I will say this, that now that my kids are a little bit older, I'm around a lot of other kids more often at various events, various places. I don't remember seeing as many overweight young people as I do now as opposed to when I was a kid. I mean, there were always a couple of kids that were a little bit bigger for one reason or another, and then they'd grow this way, and this would shrink, you know. But I will say this, in this society now of video games and online stuff and staying in the house and all that's, our youth is in a worse shape, I guess, pun intended, than they were in my generation.
This is the first generation that is expected to not outlive their parents' generation.
Doesn't it feel like there's a shift, though, in the schools getting back to some healthier, less overly processed foods? And I think that's the first place where the schools can start. Don't send home a letter telling us your kid's fat, but take the sugars, take the sodas out of the schools, get them some fresh, locally grown vegetables as part of their side dishes for their lunches instead of tater tots every day.
You know what I do miss seeing, though, is kids out playing at night in baseball fields, having organized football games, and
that doesn't happen in the Little household,
the Little League, no, we're all, I can't get them inside the house, but you know, you just drive by the Little League parks and the basketball court, and they just seem more empty than they used to be.
Well, I tell you what, I know that this is certainly going to be a hot topic, and Courtney Caligiuri is talking to people on the live blog today about it. Court?
What's interesting on the live blog is no one is supporting the school at this point, thinking that they shouldn't be stepping in and leaving something like this up to the kids' parents. So we'll start there on the live blog right now on foxprovidence.com, and this one's from Anthony. He says, it's great that schools want want to help, but this is between the parents and children. Keep it confidential. And Joe says, I don't think it's a good idea for schools to monitor children's health and weight. I don't believe it's any of their business. And Jerry said teachers should concentrate on teaching, not health issues of the kids. That is the problem of the parent. And here's our poll here right underneath the live blog. If you're just joining us now, do you think it's a good idea for schools to monitor children's health and weight? A, yes, it will get kids on the right track. B, only confidentially with parents okay. Or C, never. It's a concern for the doctors and parents. And we've had a lot of buzz about this right now on Facebook. And Chris says nowadays kids have no gym to play in. They text and play video games. It's not up to the teachers but the parents to feed the kids right. And Sandra Alfaro says, I think there should be more gym time throughout the week and more nutritious meals served during lunches. So the consensus I'm seeing today on both Facebook and the live blog is that, you know, folks really think it starts at home and shouldn't be left up to the schools. But if you feel differently, weigh in our poll, and we will have those results for you in about a half hour. For now, we're heading back into the kitchen.